one of the most fundamental things that you can learn in bioinformatics and in using Python or any programming language as far as that's concerned for bioinformatic programming is that you're going to repeat the same thing over and over and over again, sometimes hundreds of thousands of times. So you're going to run the same analysis on different, let's say, protein sequences, different 100,000 different sequences. So you're going to run the same analysis. Maybe you're going to align them all to one particular sequence, or you're going to create a let's say a identity matrix where you got to compare them all with a certain metric, whether it be a standard alignment using a substitution matrix or whatever. You got to replace all of the certain residues, let's say glycine with lysine, something like that. You got to do it hundreds of thousands of times, so you got to do it over and over again. So when you do this, you want to make sure you have continuity of technique, so that you're doing the exact same thing every time you do it. So when you do that, or the best way to do that is to use functions, and that way you can use these functions in varied scripts, but you're always going back to the same function that does the same calculation over and over again. So you just use the same function over and over again. So I'm going to show you today how to use functions, how to define a function and how to use it, and how to get the output from the function using Python. Now, I'm not going to do any bioinformatic programming with this today. I'm just going to do a real simple function to help you understand functions. This is for the individuals out there that are not really up on what a function is and how it works, and just want a real basic understanding of the functions. We'll work into using the functions for bioinformatic purpose in a later video. So whenever we define a function, the first thing we do is we use the DEF, define indicator here. So it's going to say DEF, and then we're going to give a name to our function. It can be whatever you want it to be. I called it my new function here. Now whenever you type in the name of your function after the DEF, it's going to turn blue, and that just tells you, okay, that is a function at this point. If you see the DEF and then a name and it's followed by parentheses, that is the function. Now the parentheses hold parameters for the function. These are things that you give the function to do something with. So if we were looking at sequences, these could potentially be sequence variables. So, but here I'm just going to use my first name as the first parameter and my last name as the last parameter. You can call these anything you want, but it's easier if you're descriptive. So here I used all lowercase letters. I defined the first parameter as first name. I defined the second parameter as last name. Don't forget to close the parentheses and to add a colon at the end of that line. That colon at that end of that line tells it that anything below here that is indented by one indentation, one tab, is going to be used in this function. So we're going to take this first name parameter and we're going to assign whatever that first name parameter is, whatever we define it is later whenever we actually call this function, but we're going to assign that to a variable, and we're just going to call it first. And we're going to do the same thing with the last name parameter. We're going to assign it to a variable called last. And then we need to do something with first and last, and we need to store whatever we do with those into a variable. So we're going to call the variable output, and we're going to say output equals this string here, which says my first name is, plus the string represented by the variable first, which is also going to be what you feed it in as a parameter. So that's going to be your first name as a string, plus the string that is a space, and then then another space, plus another string that says my last name is, with a colon, plus the variable last, which is represented or which was assigned whatever you feed it as the last name parameter. So essentially, if you enter your first name and your last name when you call the function, this should pop up and say my first name is Jamie in my case, and my last name is Dixon in my case. Now then, you don't necessarily have to tell it what to output, but we're going to tell it exactly what to output, okay? We're going to tell it to output output, which is output, and we're going to tell it to output first, which is that first variable we assigned, and we're going to tell it to output last. So we got three different outputs, or three different variables that it's returning whenever we call this particular function. So now we could use this function anywhere we want. We could use it 1,000 lines of code down in this same notebook. We can even use it in a different notebook. I'm not going to show you how to do that right now, but we can reuse this function numerous times. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to define a new variable. In this case, we're going to call it output from func, or funct, and we're going to say that equals my new function, which is how we call our function, because it's called, the name of it is my new function, and we're going to say my new function, and we're going to feed it the parameters Jamie and the parameter Dixon. Okay, so that's how we feed it the parameters. Okay, and then we're going to say print output from funct. And whenever we do that, you can see there I've already done it. It's going to give us the output that we expected. My first name is Jamie and my last name is Dixon. And it's also going to give us my first name from the first variable up here. So right there we have Jamie, and it's going to give us my last name from the last variable up here. Last name is Dixon. Okay, now then, so we got three different returns here on this function. So how do we access the other, just one at a time, in other words? So the way we do this is we do the output from func, and then we use the square brackets, and we define which of those we want to get. So if I just want the overall output, then I can use the 0 index, and let's see, there you see we get the my first name is Jamie and my last name is Dixon. Okay, now then, if we want to get just my first name, then we use the 1 index position. There's Jamie. Okay, if we want to get my last name, then we use the 2 index position, Dixon. There you go. So functions are an extremely valuable tool whenever you're programming in bioinformatics. This is a very simple overview of how they work. I would encourage you to learn how to use them, to get comfortable with using them. At first they can be a little bit confusing, but they're really, really simple, and they really allow you to not only repeat the same process numerous times, but have continuity of structure in your code, because all of a sudden a block of code that might have taken you 30 or 40 or 50 lines of code, all you got to do is call a function that's hidden in a notebook somewhere. And again, I'm not going to show you how to call functions from other notebooks at this point, but it can be hidden in a notebook somewhere, and you never have to go back to that notebook unless you need to change something in the original function. All you need to do is call the function. So this is how functions work. This is how you call them. This is how you define parameters and variables in them, and how you get the output from them. So I hope this helps you out. I hope it gets you a little further down the line. If it did, please like the video. Please subscribe to my channel, and leave me any comments you have. So I hope you have a great day.